You are well, and also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 4 English lesson on shades of meaning. And before we start with our lesson on shades of meaning, we're going to log into aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 4, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of shades of meaning. So our chapter is shades of meaning. The subject is English language arts, grade 4, and the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of shades of meaning is to describe the difference between related words and positive and negative connotation. All right. So we're basically going to start with the describing the differences between related words, right? But we're basically first going to start with the different shades of meaning. And shades of meaning, if we specifically think of shades of meaning, right? Meanings are like your definitions, and different shades of meanings gives us the idea that it is almost like different, you know, different words with similar meaning, right? But it is kind of different. The meanings are similar but different. All right. So basically, some words are alike, but they have small differences in meaning. So some words are alike, but they have small differences in meaning. And those differences are called shades of meaning. For example, right? So some words are alike, but they have small differences in meaning. And those differences we call shades of meaning. For example, you need to think about the words stare, peek, and glare. So the words stare, peek, and glare, right? So if we look at the word stay, the word stay and the definition thereof is to look at something for a while. It's almost like you are looking at something, but you are just like looking at that specific thing for or specific person for a long time. And then if we look at the word peak, peak is to look at something quickly. It's like you're quickly like peeking. It's almost like you don't want somebody to see you. And then we have the word glare. And glare is to look at something in an angry way. So we have stare, to look at something for a while. Peek is to look at something quickly. And glare is to look at something in an angry way. And if you look at all three of these words, which is stare, peek, and glare, all three of these words all mean to look at something. So it's basically to look at something in just a different way. Because to stare is to look at something for a while, to peek is to look at something quickly, and to glare is to look at something in an angry way. So all three of these words all mean to look at something, but it's just to look at something in different ways. So that is basically shades of meaning, right? It is where some words are alike, like stare, peek, and glare, but they have small differences in meaning. So they have small differences in meaning, and we call those shades of meaning. All right. And then when it comes to connotation, right? You get positive connotation and you get negative connotation. So you get positive connotation and you get negative connotation. And connotation is the feeling or idea that goes along with the word or phrase, right? So whether it is in a positive way or it is in a negative way. And some of the words are close in meaning, but they have different connotations. For example, I think about the words eager and I think about the words impatient. So think about the words eager and think about the words impatient. If you look at both of these words, right, eager as well as impatient, they both mean wanting something to happen, but they have different connotations. So when it comes to eager, then eager has a positive connotation, meaning that it is a nice word. And the meaning of eager, right, is it's a person that is happy and excited. So that means this is it's almost like it's a positive connotation, like we say, and it's wanting something in quite an exciting way. So wanting something to happen in a exciting way, because being eager, right, is when a person is happy and excited. And then we have impatient. And impatient has a negative connotation, meaning that it is not a nice word. And impatient, right? The meaning of impatient is a person that is often pushy and a person that can be demanding. And that is why we say it has a negative connotation. It's not a nice word, because an impatient person is often very pushy and they can be quite demanding. Whereas an eager person, right, is happy and the eager person is excited. And that is why we're saying both meanings, right, which is eager as well as impatient, both of them mean wanting something to happen. So both want something to happen, but the connotations are different. Eager has a positive connotation, and impatient has a negative connotation. And remember, we said connotations is a feeling or idea that goes along with the word or phrase. The example, the two words that we made mention of, eager, so it goes with eager and it goes with phrase. And some words are close in meaning, but then you have others with different connotations. All right. So we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So we are going to our tutorial on aplusstudents.ca. And our chapter is Shades of Meaning. So we're going to the first lesson, which is to describe the difference between related words. All right. And we see that some of the words are alike, but they have small differences in meaning. And we say those specific words or those specific differences, we call those shades of meaning, right? So shades of meaning are when words are alike, but they have small differences in meaning. And we made an example of stare, peek, and glare, where we say that the meaning of stare is to look at something for a while. And if somebody stares at you, you can actually feel it, right? So at first, if you didn't even know somebody was looking at or staring at you, but after time, for some reason, it's as if you can feel that somebody's staring at you. So to stare is to look at something for a while. Sometimes I'll say without blinking. Then to peek is to look at something quickly. It's like quickly peek. It's almost like you are looking at something knowing that you don't want somebody to see that you're looking. And glare is to look at something in an angry way. All right. And we said the words stare, peek, and glare, they all look at something, but they look at stuff in a they look at something in a different way. So all three of these words are looking at something, but they're looking at it in a different way. Stare being looking at something for a long time, for a while. Peek looking at something quickly, and glare looking at something angrily. All right. And if we look at this word, right, it says which word shows complaining. So basically, when you're complaining, right, that means that you are whining. So if you're constantly complaining, or a word that shows that you're complaining, we can say it is whining. And then we said which is more quieter. An excessive laugh is not quieter, but a little chuckle. It's like you're just smiling with a little bit of laughter, is a chuckle, right? That is more quieter than an outburst of laughter. All right, so now let's go to our test. So we now need to say which one is bigger. So we need to say which one is bigger, a hill or a mountain. So which one is bigger, a hill or a mountain? So we need to say which one is bigger, a hill is bigger or a mountain is bigger. So which one is bigger? Is it a hill that is bigger or a mountain that is bigger? All right, so if we were to say which one is bigger, we will then say a mountain is bigger, right? And well done, well done. A mountain is bigger. So well done. Which one is better, right? Is something pleasant better or something delightful? Something pleasant is better or something delightful is better? So we need to say which is better. Something pleasant is better or something delightful is better? All right. So if we were to say which one is better, whether it's something pleasant or something delightful. All right, let's go with delightful. And delightful is correct. So well done. Delightful is correct. Which word shows anger? To glare or to glance? It shows anger. To glare or to glance? All right. So the word that shows anger between glare and glance, we'll say it is to glare. So glare, and well done, everybody. It shows anger. And which is often worn by a team. So which is often worn by a team? A uniform is worn by a team or costume? A team, think of a soccer team, a football team. What do they wear? Do they wear a uniform or do they wear a costume? And something that is worn by a team is a uniform, right? Not a costume, a uniform. And which is larger? Is it a meal or a snack that is larger? A meal or a snack? So we need to say which one is larger. Is it a meal or a snack? All right. So basically, which one is larger is a meal, right? So meal, you can have like Like we would say in South Africa, we'll have our 7 colors, right? Your meat and everything. Whereas snacks would basically either be a fruit or packet of snacks or something. All right. And then we have positive and negative connotation, right? And we said connotation is the feeling or idea that goes along with a word or phrase. And some words are close in meaning but have different connotations. This is grade 4. Remember, when it comes to certain topics or chapters within the different grades, the topics and chapters are the same, right? But it's just on a different grade level. So, as much as the context or the content would maybe be the same, but the tests would be different. So, in the week, yes, the grade threes did this, but it is now under the grade 4 chapter. So we said connotation is the feeling or idea that goes along with the word or phrase. And some of the words are close in meaning, but they have different connotations. And like we say, you can either have a positive connotation or you can have a negative connotation. And for example, right, we need to think of the words eager as well as the word impatient. And when it comes to eager as well as impatient, then both of these words mean wanting something to happen. All right. So basically, eager and impatient is like we both want something to happen. All right. So we said when it comes to eager, so when it comes with eager, right? The meaning of eager, it has a positive connotation. Remember, we said both eager as well as impatient. They both mean that it's wanting something to happen. So eager has a positive connotation, whereas impatient has a negative connotation. So eager has a positive connotation, impatient has a negative connotation. Eager is a nice word, impatient is not a nice word. And the meaning of eager is a person who is happy and excited. And the meaning of impatient, an impatient person is often pushy and very demanding. All right. So now we need to say which phrase is more of a negative connotation. All right. Now let's do our test. Guys, I don't mind doing the test. It's just that I want you to understand, right, the different connotations or the content of the work, because that is basically what the whole session should be about. It's where you understand the content of the work before we go on to the test, right? So, does everybody agree? Is everybody understanding what connotations is? All right. So now we're going to say which phrase has a more negative connotation, where we talk about something or we boast about something. If we talk about something, right, is that negative or positive? And if we boast about something, is that negative or positive? So the question is which phrase has a more negative connotation? Is it we talk about something or we boast about something? In connotation, someone is asking what is connotation? So a connotation is basically like a feeling or an idea, right? That can be suggested by a particular word. So you can have connotations that can either be in a negative way or you can have a positive connotation. Like in this case, right, where the question says which phrase has a negative connotation, right? Meaning that the meaning of that phrase is actually a negative meaning. For example, to talk about something or boast about something. So which means that the negative connotation would be to boast about something. Like boasting about something is like where you want to show off, you want to show someone that you are better than the other, right? So that usually has a negative connotation. Whereas if you just want to talk about something, right, have a conversation, then that is a positive connotation. So we said boasting about something, right? And boasting is correct. So which phrase has a more negative connotation? Is it when we scowl at something or when we scowl at someone, or when we frown at someone. And firstly, before we even go to you having to choose which one is negative, right? A scowl, right? It's like where you're angry and it implies more extreme feelings or hostility, right? It's like where you're angry, you are expressing a lot of anger. And then frown can be more like it's like where you basically indicate more sadness, right? Or disapproval or confusion. So we have scowl at someone or frown at someone. We need to choose the negative connotation. All right. And to scowl at someone has a negative connotation. And which phrase has more negative connotation? Is it a reason or an excuse? If you give someone a reason, right, as to why you couldn't go and play in the park, for example, is that positive or negative? An excuse. So we need to say which phrase has a negative connotation. That way someone give you reasons or someone is just constantly making excuses. And the one with the more negative connotation would be to constantly have excuses. Right? So if you're constantly having excuses, constantly coming up with excuses, right? It's the same as, for example, having to do your work, right? But now you're coming up with different excuses as to why you don't want to or could not do your work, right? Then that is a negative connotation. But if you give a good and valid reason as to why you could not do your homework because of whichever specific reasons, then that is a positive connotation. So an excuse is a negative connotation. So well done, excuse is correct. Then which phrase has a more negative connotation? Is it a savage animal or a wild animal? And if we were to say which phrase has a more negative connotation, right? Is it a savage animal or wild animal? Let's go with a wild animal. Oh, actually, a savage animal, right? So, not even a wild animal, but a savage animal actually has a negative connotation. Maybe because a savage animal, you never know, they can be very sly, right? It's almost like with wild animals, you need to, with wild animals, you need to keep your distance from those animals because they're generally classified as wild animals. But I think more with savage animals, it's like where they're very slyish, come across as nice, but then attacks you. All right, let's go to the next one. Which phrase has a more negative connotation? Is it when you're feeling stuffed or when you're feeling full? So you need to say which has a negative connotation. The feeling of being stuffed, this is now when you're eating, or when you're full. And the phrase that has more negative connotation, right? We would say it is the feeling of being stuffed, right? Because if you're full, then of course we know that, okay, you've had enough. I am full. I had my meal, right? And usually when you are stuffed, then it means that you have eaten way more than what you should, right? All right. So these are shades of meaning, right? It's like when we say that you have different specific words that almost means the same, but the meanings are kind of like they're kind of similar, right? Or different. There's a difference in the meanings. And we made an example of stay, peak, and glare, where stay is to look at something for a long time, glare is to look at something in a more angry way, and peak is to look at something quickly, right? So if you look at all three of those words, it is to look at something but in a different way, right? And then we have positive as well as negative connotations. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining our class. I really hope that you do understand now what at least shades of meaning is. Just know that our chapters are different or are the same with most of our grades, but it's just that the content is being taught on a grade level, right? All right, so you should have a good evening, everybody. Till next time. Goodbye.